So I was like, okay, it's kind of cool because they'll like send me like cool pictures of like tanks or planes, and I'm like, wow, thanks for sharing. So, but yeah, it's like I'm already inspiring the kids already. So it's nice.
Welcome to the ASVAB Domination Podcast, where we help you crush the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, also known as the ASVAB, in order to achieve your dreams of serving in the United States Armed Forces. I'm your host, Mickey Gamonal, and I'm excited to share my years of experience and expertise in ASVAB preparation with you. In each episode, we'll dive deep into test material, strategies for success, and insights from military veterans and experts. Let's dominate the ASVAB together. Welcome back to the ASVAB Domination Podcast. I'm your host, Mickey Gamonal, and today I am very excited to be speaking with May Wickenhauser. She recently took the ASVAB, and she's got a very unique ASVAB story. I was able to meet her before she took her test, and I'm just so excited to have you on. So thanks for joining us, May.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I feel like I'm so different from the rest of your podcast because I know I'm just going to talk like a civilian, so just bear with me. So, because I am 41. I am literally at the end. Like, when I contacted recruiters, I'm like, "Hey, is it too late?" And they're like, "Actually, no." And I was like, "Really?" So, so that's where I was just like, "Okay." And I contacted Navy first, and my husband's Air Force. He was not happy with that. So, but then I contacted Air Force as well, and they were like, "Yeah, no, the cutoff age is 42 as well." And I was like, "Okay." And so I was like, "Great, this is a great toss up. What do I do?" But what was really important is I already have a degree. I'm teaching. I'm in education, and I teach special ed middle school math. And I was just like, okay, I'm good with teaching, you know, and my kids, I've had my kids like super young, like as a teenager. So they're already out of the house. So I was like, man, I have all this flexibility. I wanna do more.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so you were wondering like why am I choosing now? Why why this age, right?
No, well, yeah, we can get into that, but I just think it's really great that a lot of people would say, oh, I have this stable career, special ed teacher, there's always a need for those, right? And so
Right.
you can refine that craft year after year, iteration after iteration. Even back when I was in my education days at UNLV, like there are people who do that for 40 plus years, and never even consider going outside of that. So yeah, exactly like you said, like what inspired you to go join the service?
Right. Well, actually, my son is my huge inspiration. And he was always into aeronautics. So I encouraged him we live in Oklahoma, so it's called Sooner Flight Academy. So since he was probably 8 or 9 years old, and then
Wow.
and then we moved to Florida just because they had better services for my daughter who has autism. And she has pretty profound autism too. And so then one great thing about Florida, especially compared to Oklahoma, Florida has so many air shows. Oklahoma, we have like one awesome air show, like out of 3 years at Tinker. But Florida, we can go to Jacksonville, we can go to Fort Lauderdale. We always go to Sun and Fun. So I mean, we'd have at least like two per year, if not three. So I remember after Sun and Fun, and my son goes, "Hey, Mom, I wanna, I don't want to just fly planes. I don't want to fly commercial planes. I want to fly military planes." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And I was like, "Yeah, I understand. It's super cool. We watched Top Gun like 50 times by that age." And he's like, "No, Mom, I want to serve." And I'm like, "Dang it, you." Uh, but then I just continued to encourage it. I remember even around that year, oh yeah, yeah. During that time, he was about 12. We found Civil Air Patrol, which is like junior ROTC, and they are a Air Force auxiliary. Oh goodness, I forgot. I mean, because he's already like, he's
Right,
done.
he's joined and
Yeah.
everything.
So, and what else did I do? Oh yeah, and we lived in Florida. So then Embry Riddle had summer camps for teenagers as well. So I encourage that. And I I think through all the encouragement, um, and he's already out of the house. He's at Oklahoma State University at Air Force ROTC. Like this Thursday, I'm going to see him in a parade. I was just like, hey, the kids are out of the house. I I could do what I want. Because really, honestly, the reason why I chose education is because I'm a young mom. I mean, I had them at 19 or 19 and 21. So I was just like, I don't really need to be a teacher, even though I loved it. It's super rewarding. But I'm also like the reason why my push was like I like being in community. Like I call it community server. And that's why I did what I did with my son Jaden. Is like I called it I lead by example, So I was like, hey, if this is his passion, it ended up being kind of a passion for me. I was just like, hey, I know how to push you through this, and then I was just like, and then you know what? I'm going to push myself through this too as well. So that's why I chose to serve, and of course, it's just all the wonderful benefits with it as well. So yeah,
No, that's
so.
great. That's awesome. I
Mhm.
think people, it's tough because we always do, especially with our kids, right? You encourage them to go chase their dreams. But people
Right,
don't take that on their own medicine 9 times out of 10, right? It's something
right.
where you just push them and it's great for them. But we have our
Mhm.
own lives already. But the fact that you started drinking the Kool-Aid while you were
Right.
encouraging the kid to go and, and he's already got success, right? Like he's going into a parade, he's been in the Air
Mhm.
Force. And so you see the direction that he's going and you're considering starting that direction yourself. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So I've been very excited when I told my parents because I'm like, I'm the baby, even though I don't, I'm 40, but I'm the baby of like my family.
Uh-huh.
Uh, they, I was afraid I was going to give my dad a heart attack, but instead, they all just kind of knew it. They were like, "Oh no, that's great. I'm so glad you're following your dreams." And even my dad, he hinted, he was like, yeah, I always knew you're my strong-willed child. There's a book that he would read about me, and that I'm the strong-willed child. And I was like, yep, I'm still that strong-willed child. So it's kind of like that confirmation of like, hey, my family knows me really well. I'm glad I didn't accidentally blindsided them because it is kind of a shock. Like not many 41-year-old or going to be 42. I'm going to go to boot camp on my birthday.
Wow.
Right? So,
Awesome. They're gonna love
um,
that. Drill sergeants love
they,
birthdays.
yeah, I'm gonna try not to let them know, but they'll probably find out anyways. So, but we'll see. My son told me he's like, oh, yeah, they're gonna have fun with you. I was like, great. So,
Yeah.
so we'll see. So, is there anything that I need to know about birthdays and boot camp?
It depends. It's all gonna
Okay.
vary by platoon and by branch, right? Like I joined the army.
True.
So when I
Right.
was going through, our drill sergeants love to, you do the number of push-ups for your birthday or something like that. And then if you didn't do them right, the whole platoon would do the number of push-ups for your birthday. So it can turn
Okay.
into a
Wow.
lot of push-ups.
They're gonna hate me. That's awesome. Okay, I'll remember to do that many push-ups to to train for that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, my age and as a female, I think I'm required for like about half of that. So,
Oh, there
but
you
oh well.
go. Well,
Right.
but that's the thing, right? These drill sergeants, a good drill sergeant, you're going to have the wide range of different people, just like you have the wide range of special ed teachers. A good
Right.
drill sergeant's going to push you when you need to be pushed and kind of back
Mm,
off when you need to be backed off. I know because I was joining at 30 and I was one of the older people in the
right.
platoon. They kind of left us alone, us older guys. We used to call ourselves the OGs, the old guys. And
Oh,
so
nice.
they didn't
Oh,
leave us alone, but we were older than a lot of them, and that's going to
right.
be the reality for you. You're going to be older than some of these drill sergeants, and there will be some that love to pick on you,
Mm,
but that's kind of how it goes. It's
oh
kind of a
yeah.
rite of passage. So I
Uh,
think, and you sound so ready for it. You have decided that this is your direction. And then you also
Right.
have your family backing that trajectory. So
Right.
with that mentality, I don't think
Mm,
you're going to have any trouble going through Navy boot camp because you know where you came from. I think you're
uh,
going to do great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was even nervous about MEPS because I was like, man, they're gonna find something. And I was like, Yeah, but you're kind of right. They just kind of treated me like an OG, and I was like, I expected this to be harder, but okay. I mean, I'm not complaining. There were some things where MEPS was like, oh my goodness, I'm sweating. But by the end of the day, I was like, whew. And and I end up making friends at MEPS. I make friends everywhere though, but I kind of felt bad, like kids who are younger than me, or half my age practically, and they're like, no, I gotta wait for 2 weeks or a month. Honestly, like it's what, April now?
Hmm.
And my birthday is June 26th. So if I had to wait like, a week or a month, MEPS, I'm afraid I'll lose my chance. You know what I'm saying? So I'm so glad that that I managed to get through. So I'm like, ooh, yay. It's just nice. So like every tiny little victory that I'm just going to take them and use
Yeah.
them. So yeah.
Well, and these memories will sustain you for years to come. I mean,
Right.
even when your son swore in, you probably still remember that day. And you're going to remember the same for yourself,
Uh,
for
right.
decades, you're going to remember the day you swore in. So that's awesome. Like
Right.
there's just so much that you're building, so much legacy that you're building that people, once they even crossing 20, a lot of people get older
Right.
than 20 and feel like they're too old to do anything new. So I think it's
Oh,
great,
I sure hope not. Right. Right. Yeah, because I was like, I had kids, at 19 and 21. So I was like, I could finally, just do what I want to do, and but still and let the military pay for it. So yeah, my job is builder, and which was cool is that like the other than teaching, that's what I did. I worked in GC, general construction, and like a little bit of architectural and engineering. So, but more like a coordinator. But regardless, I was just like, wow, I'm kind of back into like my old groove of what I knew. And I think that also helped me with my ASVAB score because there were questions about construction that I thought I forgot. And I was like, and those were actually pretty high scores. And I was like, I thought I forgot all these. So I'm glad that it just kind of put me back to a place where I knew that I thought I forgot. So
For sure. I think a lot of people our age are going into the military and thinking that they don't have, like, it's been so long, and they don't
right,
see the
right.
value in their life experience when they take the ASVAB. So it's great to
Hmm.
hear that, you know, all that time, even though it was a long time ago, it's still
Right,
like you're looking at a multiple choice question, right? Like that's the thing
right.
is only one answer is going to be right. And if you have any experience at all, you already kind of have an inkling for which one of those four answers is going to be right.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, that's like where I was like, oh, for the construction question or electrical, most of them were just inklings. And I was like, wow, how did I get a pretty high score? But I'm very happy that I did. So yeah. I'm glad I managed to just to get through it. And I had it, and obviously I talked to you before. I'm like, I was happy with my score being at 83. So yes.
Yeah, an 83 is a phenomenal score. I speak to students all day long who get sub 30s, and because you
Mm,
can't join if you get below a 30. So those are the ones who
right.
typically reach out. But I think it's great that someone like you, who's already teaching math, thought that you should shore up those skills. And I'm sure you went into the test with a little bit more confidence because you had a little more familiarity. So that's great.
Right. So speaking of why I had to do that, so being I couldn't go directly into the officer program. I had to enlist, and that was my toss up between Navy and Air Force, by the way, is that when I talked to the Navy officer recruiter, and it was like, okay, contact this person, that person, this person, which is fine. But he said, hey, you're kind of old, but which is fine. But he goes, you missed the date. However, it's in February where you do have to compete to get into an officer program. And of course it does depend on your job. So it's like, so he goes, what you need to do is take the ASVAB and get a high score. And that's going to also help you with, whenever you do compete for that officer program. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, okay. And so I remember looking around and trying to figure out like who do I contact? What do I do? And then that's how I found you. And I was like, okay. I think I found you through Spotify. Is that right? Through,
Yeah.
yeah, your podcast. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to study while I'm in the car. And there was a lot more to like studying, but it was just like a lot of information where I was like, okay, I could see it like in this perspective. What jobs do I want to think of? All that. So, but that was my push of, man, I need to get a high score for my ASVAB. So that's the route that, we might have another interview in February and I say, yay, I'm an officer now. So, and regardless, I'm happy with my decision. I'm happy with what I'm doing anyways, because teachers don't really get paid much anyways, or in Oklahoma we don't. So yeah, I'm like it's nice to just to to have a new route, in my career, and that it's not too late. I'm like 42. I'm gonna have a new career, and it's not too late. You know.
Yeah.
So,
No, and I think your life experience is going to prove out like you're going to be so much better off that you did this when you did, you know.
mhm.
I think you're going to be happy even without the officer slot. We had when I went through basic, we had one person who had a bachelor's degree but ended up going enlisted. And the drill sergeant,
Okay.
one of my favorite drill sergeants, Drill Sergeant Delta, was like, this guy is going to promote so freaking fast and he's going to
Right.
rise up those enlisted ranks really quickly because he's going to
Mhm.
be promoted above peers. And it's not that people who have a college degree are better. It's just that we know how to jump through hoops, right? We've taken orders to get that bachelor's degree. You have to
Right.
be comfortable with being told what to do. And
Hmm.
so because of your life experience, I have no doubt that one, you're going to crush it as an enlisted service member, but two, like you have a really good shot at getting into that officer candidate program as well. Whoever is making that determination, you're going to be one of the front runners. There's going to be 18-year-olds who already have a bachelor's degree and who are like kid geniuses,
Right.
but that's not valuable, right? Like that's not as valuable as life experience. You're just
Right.
waiting for that kid to make a mistake, you know, as opposed to an adult who's already
Exactly.
made a couple,
Uh-huh.
I think you're going to have a major leg up. So that's great.
Yeah.
I did want to ask because of are you going to come back to the same job afterwards or are you going active
Exactly.
duty?
Oh no, I'm reserved. So just because I was like, well, my even though my daughter's not at home, she's at a group home. She is she has profound autism, well, with intellectual disability and nonverbal and seizures. But she's in a home that takes care of her, which is great. But I'm like, I do like to just try to be there with her just in case. So it's nice to have that flexibility with the reserve. So
Cool.
so
Awesome.
yeah.
So are you going to come back to the same job or are you
Oh, right,
parting
right.
ways?
So I think I'm gonna find out closer when I'm done with my A school. I think that's what it's called, right? And I know it's Navy. So
Yeah. You
so
could
so
say any letter of the alphabet. I'd
right,
have to believe you.
exactly. And I think it's done in like end of November. So I probably around that time I'll reach out and see what's out there, whether I could go back to construction because I'm like, I know some friends that will take me back. Another job that I just saw that's cool, but I mean, they're not going to have. I don't know if they'll have an opening, but it's a special teacher for Department of Corrections, and I thought it would be kind of cool. I was like, hey, I at least have military training to keep me safe. So we'll see if I take it or not. But
Cool.
but they pay really, really well, obviously, because of obvious
Hazard pay.
situation.
For
Yeah,
sure.
hazard pay. So we'll see just kind of what's available at that time, but I'll ask probably closer to the time when I'm done with school. So
Cool.
yeah.
Nice. Well, and you'll have what I like about like that's the thing about the military, right? Is you
Right.
do feel you see those other jobs that maybe you wouldn't have thought so much as a possibility in the past, and
Right.
you feel like, oh, okay, well, I've done something that's so difficult.
Right.
At that point, you'll have gone probably through combatives level 1 or something like that, whatever the Navy equivalent is,
Right.
and you're gonna have a little bit of confidence that you don't necessarily need, right? Like you can walk into that building and say, hey, I'm a Navy service member, and people treat you differently, right?
Hmm.
Especially in that sort of an environment. So
Right.
I think it's just gonna be aces for you. Like I think it's really great. The hardest thing I think for you, because I did hear that Navy basic training can be harder than Army because there's higher oversight, I've heard that they keep a closer eye on you. But I don't know. You'll have
Really?
to let me know
Yeah,
what
I
your
will.
feeling was.
When we were briefing for MEPS, and there's like, all different types of branches and they were asking, and it's just like, so what are your physical requirements? They made it sound like Army was harder for Navy, but maybe just people in there were just biased at that time.
We all
So
are. You can't
I
help it.
know,
You'll be
yeah.
biased too. You'll get out
Oh,
of
I
basic
will.
training and you'll be a Navy fan from that point
Um,
forward.
and
So
so, but yeah, I'm like, I know I'll be swimming, but I'm a pretty good swimmer, to be honest. So I'm not too worried. Like if they're saying that, obviously that'll be different, like for Army or Air Force, obviously, even though they do have what water survival training. Um, but yeah, I mean, I could see that being a different component.
nice.
So,
So
but
you
yeah.
mentioned that your husband he's in the Air Force. And so I wanted to ask what was the inspiration to go Navy? Was it because of like an officer
All
situation or
right.
what was it?
It was an officer situation. So when I talked to the Air Force officer recruiter, he pretty much said, you have to wait until somebody retires in order to be an officer. And I was like, well, I want to have a better chance. I want to do, you know, have that better chance. And I would always joke around anyways, to be honest. It's like my son's more of a bird to the air and I'm a fish to the sea because I am a better swimmer than everybody else in my family, other than probably my brother. But yeah, I'm more comfortable, in the water than anything else. So yeah, I'm like, I think that's probably two reasons why I chose Navy other than Air Force. So
Awesome.
yeah.
I know when I was joining, and you kind of mentioned this, or you alluded to it earlier. When I was joining, it was tough. I was calling my recruiter, and I think she's a great recruiter. She was a specialist at the time, but I had to call her pretty much daily. And that's because I had an ACL surgery, I had 10 years of work history, and I needed to get like a phone book size stack of papers from the doctor to show that I was like good to go for basic training. And so
Right.
it's just harder for us to get into the military. So can you tell us a little bit about that for anybody
Um,
who's like joining at this age?
Right. Actually, I mean, thankfully, I have not had any major injuries. I've been so lucky, but I'm pretty physical, or I've managed to make sure that it's like, I wouldn't want to say hidden, but I do kind of, you know, because it was just like, I did lose the arches of my feet. And I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna fail that duck walk, but I didn't. So, but you always say, yes, I lost the arches of my feet, but it's no longer an issue. I'm very active. I'm a teacher. I'm always on my feet every day. So, and just to prove that, like, yeah, that's not a problem.
But that's talking to MEPS, right? That's not talking
Uh,
to a recruiter, is it? Or do you have to
Oh
say
yeah,
those?
that is talking to MEPS. The recruiter is kind of on my side too, kind of like it's like, okay, yeah, we noticed these medical concerns, so this is how we're gonna say it. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, in technicality and according to the paper, yeah, that's exactly that's exactly what happened. So
100%.
100%. Like I see him just doing great things. So then I was like, obviously that anxiety lifted. I didn't, I just saw I was, um yeah, I was just saw great positive things. So then yeah, MEPS kind of helped me out too. So which was a surprise. But I mean, kind of like what you said, you know, more than just physically, when we're 40-ish, and I think, or 30 to 40, they know that we have life experience and they know that, okay, if it's just taken care of, then boom,
Right.
obviously for a 20-year-old, it might be a little bit different, but yeah, I guess it all depends too. Talking to some of these kids, because I mean, they're all 20.
It's gonna be there's a lot more
Right.
where that came from.
So, I mean, there was one kid I remember talking to. He had to clear papers that he had a IEP, and I was like, hey, I'm the special ed teacher. I'm like, you could test out of an IEP. It just all kind of depends what it is. So, and I think I don't know what exactly his IEP was for, because I was surprised that he just shared this information with me. But I was just like, it was nice to know that there are ways, there's waivers. We've heard that to have that opportunity. So
For sure. No,
yeah.
and I think you're going to get a lot more of that because you're someone who's easy to talk to. And I was kind of the same in basic training. A lot of these kids they'll be filling gaps, They're a lot of them just left their parents or something like that, and they'll be looking for someone who's willing to listen to their whole
Right.
life,
Right.
especially by like week 2 or week 3, they'll be leaning on you a lot. But I think you're up to the task. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but it's common at MEPS to, these kids will just open up a lot of the time because you got the life experience. They can't really talk to the other 18-year-old about something that they feel is unique to them. So,
Right, right.
so
Yeah, it was kind of fun too. It kind of just felt like I was talking to my son or just, so I was just like, but I still talk to him like they're an adult too, because like, like some of the girls, I'm like, we're gonna look like badass in our uniforms. They're like, hell yeah. So I'm like, it's kind of actually it was funny because I bumped into she's not my student, but she's a student in my school. And I was like, I'm gonna still talk to her like she's an adult because, she's making an adult decision, you know. And it was just great conversations, even when some of us feel pretty tense in MEPS, but it was just to lighten the mood and we all had a great time. So
yeah. No, that
yeah.
struggle breeds the strength, and you're going to get a lot of that at basic training or you call it boot camp, a school? Which one would it be? What do you guys call
Okay,
it in
so
Navy?
oh goodness. Well, it's called so first you go to boot camp or basic training, and then
Okay.
after that, then I have a school or just at Gulfport, Mississippi. So I'm still learning the terminology. So, so yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's same in basic or in Army basic training and then AIT. So same
Okay,
thing,
right.
A school,
AIT. Right, right.
which is advanced individual training. And then also just for acronym sake, just for an
Sure.
IEP is individualized education plan, right? And so it's
That is
for
correct.
special needs in education, which I'm sure you're
Oh,
a
yes.
pro at. You probably
Very
work with them every day.
familiar. I do. I do. So yeah, we're doing state testing this week. I mean, I'm like, I'm in a room full of like ADHD kids. I mean, because that's what they do. They just put all the ADHD kids in one room. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, these poor kids. So, but it was fun. We got it done and over with. So, but yeah.
No, that's great. Do you feel different at work knowing that you're joining the military? Has it kind of changed your perspective?
I do, especially when I'm like, hey, I met one of our students, and it's really encouraging too to go like we're making a difference with one of our students. I get to experience it. So it's really neat, but I definitely feel more confident. And, it's just like that teacher burnout is not as much, because it's just like, okay, I could just do that next step or next level and that next challenge. So it's something to look forward to. So, and of course I have like middle school boys who are like, they call me Miss Wick, by the way, like John Wick. And
Nice.
I know. So they're like, hey, Miss Wick, I want to join. I was like, oh, no, you'll do great. Whether they say they want to like army. Actually, yeah, most of my students they want to join the army. So I was like, okay, it's kind of cool because they'll like send me like cool pictures of like tanks or planes, and I'm like, wow, thanks for sharing. So, but yeah, it's like I'm already inspiring the kids already. So it's nice. So
That's cool. That's such a cool thing to come away with.
yeah.
Well, right on. So yeah, last question, I guess. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Oh, goodness. I can't think of anything at this moment. I have a feeling I was like, hopefully by February we'll have another interview. I'll tell you that I got the officer. And regardless if I don't, I'm happy with with what I'm doing. Yeah. I will head out June 3rd, 4th. So I'm like everything's gonna go boom, boom, boom. But I'm excited of just the big changes that's going on. So
Well, I'm so happy for you, and I think you're gonna do great things. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story because it is unique. And I think a lot of people think that it's too late for them. So I think honestly, while you're inspiring, young kids that are 18 and or middle school or whatever, you're inspiring these kids. Honestly, I think your story can inspire a lot of people who are considering it.
Yeah. And I sure hope that I could, yeah, continue to inspire. I still feel like I'm like a little person, but it is nice to know, like as a teacher, I mean, that's what we are motivated to do is to encourage. So, but yeah,
Right.
thanks for meeting with me and, you know, interviewing me and all that.
Of course, yeah. And whether or not you get into the officer thing, I do want to
Right,
follow up with you because I want to hear your story, right? Because
right.
for me, basic training was a whole entire experience. It completely changed my life. And I'd been through Peace Corps, I'd been through different things in my life that I really thought I was, especially, because I was older, I was 30, I felt like I was who I was going to be. But then I went through basic training and it changed you, and that's what it's designed to do. But I was impressed by how much. And so I can't wait to hear what you get out of it.
Sounds great. Whew. I'm like excited and I'm like, okay, I can't wait to just see how it goes. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, May. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
Remember to be kind to yourself and treat yourself as a learner. Are you considering a career in the military but feeling overwhelmed by the ASVAB exam? Look no further than GamonalTutors.com for the best ASVAB prep courses. Our courses are designed by experienced instructors to help you master the best sections of the ASVAB exam, including mathematics, English, and general science. We use proven teaching methods and provide extensive practice materials to ensure that you are fully prepared on test day. With GamonalTutors.com, you'll have access to comprehensive study guides, personalized tutoring sessions, and online practice exams. Our courses are available on demand, so you can learn at your own pace and on your own schedule. Don't let the ASVAB exam hold you back from achieving your career goals. Sign up for GamonalTutors.com ASVAB prep courses today and take the first step towards a successful military career.